Program Jones and Company. Once again, we're speaking with the recipient of JCN's Business of the Year Civil Society Award, Executive Chairman Mr. Dominic Sturrup, as well as Mr. Atario Mitchell. And we were discussing, or we have been discussing throughout our first segment, various elements of their business. We've spoken a bit about the philanthropy side, and perhaps we can talk a bit more about that. You've mentioned, Mr. Sturrup, the swimming program at the Fox Hill Community Center. You mentioned a bit about how you got to build that or play a role in building the Fox Hill Community Center. And now you're on to another one in terms of recreating the same efforts in the Nassau Village community. And when we look at it in terms of the benefit of these community centers, we've touched a bit on the touching story you gave of the young lady learning how to swim, especially in a country surrounded by water, how important it is for the youth to have that skill. But it goes even beyond that in terms of even if you try to connect it to the scourge of crime we see and giving more positive what do they call it, outlets for people to be able to express themselves, to spend their time perhaps in a more positive environment. The positives definitely outweigh any sort of negatives. But in terms of your other philanthropic exploits, in terms of the feeding program, in terms of everything else that you do, what else do you have planned in terms of various different ones? Because all of them, to me, it doesn't seem as if it's just like certain businesses who may have one traditional form of empowerment that they invest in, but you've invested in Junkanoo groups, you've built community centers, you've done the feeding program, the swim program. What else do you envision as we think about it? And we've already talked about the responsibility of a company in taking into account all of these issues that we see in our country. But what other social issues do you look around our country? And I think it's so interesting that I asked this question. I asked it also on the radio a few days ago in terms of the most crucial issues socially that we see in our country.
I believe that there's a lot of social issues, and as a company, we cannot address all of them. We have to, and if you can do something, you have to do it well. So this year, our goal is to hopefully increase our swims program from 300 kids to 600 kids this year. The swim program, like I said, the benefit of that is life. It's like that's a life skill. It's like learn how to ride a bike. Mm-hmm. Once you learn how to learn a bike, you always know how to learn a bike. Once you know how to swim, I believe, it's a lot of benefits. One, you get to know how to swim. You can go on the beach and you can know how to swim, but also it helps you relieve stress. We might never know. We might have our next Olympics athlete in our swim program. But I think it's a life-saving program that we have. Then we also like our Let's Make a Difference feeding program. To have 7 different islands. My staff thought I was crazy when I came up with the idea because they thought it was just Nassau. But everything happens in Nassau. We wanted to do something that we could impact the country, impact the nation. As we celebrated our 50th independence last year, and the company celebrated our 14th anniversary last year, we wanted to make a big impact in our food program, and I truly believe that we did. This year, what we want to do with our field program is we want more than 7 islands. We want to get double the islands we got on board last year. Because we want to be able to get the Lucha, the Cat Island, any island that wasn't involved in it, to get involved in our program. I believe that the Let's Make a Difference really was a perfect example of how we as Bahamians can work together. You had private companies, you have private companies that says mama, papa business, public companies. You had the Rotary Club, Pilot Club, Combiners, the Food Network. Individuals, everybody did their part to make it successful. You had Simplified Lending, Insurance Management. We had our partners from the States, partners from DR, partners from Jamaica, everybody who contributed to it. And I believe that if we can take what we did last year and look at it, and we already analyzed it. How do we make it better? It's by starting earlier and getting more people involved. Last year, Luke, you wanted to come on board. It was just too late to come on board at that last short notice. But the goal is to get more islands on board this year. Not so much as if we increase the budget to 20,000 meals. We will increase the budget based on how many islands come on board. And I think it's a good promotion, is a great initiative to show how we can work together in all sorts of lives. And, to how people from Freeport, Andros, Abaco, everybody working together to achieve a common goal, I think it's important. And to ensure that 10,320 persons have a hot meal one day. We would love to do this every day, but it's impossible. But one day a year, we can do that along with our partners. We're really making a difference in people's life and making our country better. And I think as we move forward, we as a company, we're going to look at how we deal with the back to schools, the school bags and the ham and turkey and the toys, and do initiatives that's more meaningful to us as a company, but also to us as a country. John Canoe, roots in the belly, roots, roots, roots. You got to support the roots. We got to support our culture. And Roots is an example of a group that's developing to be a very good group. They didn't come first this time, but they still have our support. This year, it's the year. We'll see first place 2 in a row. But to support our culture is important. We are Bahamian. It's like John Canoe, Kalik, Conch Salad. You got to have those 3 things together. So we got, as a country and as a company, we have to support our culture. But we are looking to see what we will be taking away, because we will be taking away some of the initiative, because we want to do an initiative that's more meaningful. And I definitely the SPIN program and the Let's Make a Difference program are two initiatives that we know that we will be funding this year, and we do look forward to all of our partners to come aboard who invested in it last year to be a part of it.
Good. Well, I'm a proud Valley boy, but I support your efforts to enhance culture, especially in that art form in John Canoe in our country. You spoke a bit about funding, and last year you would have been the recipient of quite a bit of funding out of Jamaica that will, I'm sure, assist you greatly in terms of being able to once again participate in these Triple P projects and be able to mobilize your various different resources to do things. In terms of being able to get that funding and what it means for Bahamas striping, if you could just talk a bit to that.
Well, Sydney's out of Jamaica, we got a loan from them for up to $25 million. And I can be very clear and very honest that if we did not receive that, we would not be here today. We would not be able to do Exuma and do other projects. Here you have a company out of Jamaica that saw Bahamas striping, saw myself and Atario, and made a commitment based on our branding, based on their due diligence on us, that these are 2 individuals they wanted to invest in. And I was very glad that they did. And I think what's important that for Bahamians to understand, when you're using other people's money, you can take funds for a project and go buy a house or buy a car or go on an spend trip, or when you say $1 is going for this item, it has to go for this item. And that's important. It's important that what you say, what you tell the funder, what you tell your investor, that's what you do. We had the opportunity to bring down Cygnus and a couple other groups to Exuma. They was able to see the work that's happening. They was able to see the staff. They was able to grab the materials that come from Jamaica. Mm-hmm. So they understand the funds, where their investment is going. They was able to see, touch, and feel. And that's important, because a lot of times as a business, we take funds from individuals or companies and we do other things with it. At our company, we're very opposite. When we take funding from an individual or group, or investors, it's the most important thing for us is that we deliver on what we say. And that's how you get more opportunities. And that's how we say we get funding for Elutra. That's how we say we get funding for NASA Village. NASA Village is 51% completed. And it's important that from a funding standpoint, that the funders want to know that, one, you can pay back the funds. Two, you can execute the work. Three, there's going to be no complaint of the quality of the work. All the liability is on us as a company and Cygnus. So that's why I speak very highly on Cygnus, because imagine a foreigner coming into your country and say they're going to give you $25 million to do projects. I'm glad to say that we now have a Bahamian funding company who's now funding us. You know, so now we have international funding company, and we now have a Bahamian group that now who assisting us in community centers. But if anybody who wants to go into 3P, is the key factor is you have good books, have audit statements, have a good record, be able to pass due diligence, and have a good business reputation. What helped us is that when we started our very first 3P under the former Perry administration, you know, we paid our bills in the States from our suppliers. And this is how funders go. Funders want references. They want people who you've been doing business with for 5 and 10 years. Our suppliers was able to tell them, yes, they pay their bills. And for our project now in Exuma and Elutra, a lot of that is done on credit. Because the fact that, you know, a lot of materials has to come in. Some companies, our suppliers is not going to give credit, but instead of give us credit, that's very important. That helps with the cash flow. So to do a 3P, you know, you gotta have good numbers. Good numbers means that you have good records, have audit reports, do business honestly, and have a standard that don't make a difference what island you work on or what project you work on. It's the right and correct standard consistently, and be consistent. And don't mind if people call you difficult. That's a compliment in business when people call you difficult, because that means you're doing things properly. You're doing things to the right standard, which is the international standards.
Right. And
I think one of the things Dominic didn't mention was the main thing about 3P is what we always say is time and cost. So you have to make sure that the project continues to be ahead of schedule or on time, as well as manage the cost of the project to make sure that we have will minimize the cost overruns and maintain the budgets within the project. So over the past years, we have, I guess, built confidence with the investors that they was able to see our track record on bringing projects to completion on time and on budget. So that also lend to, I guess, their confidence and their willingness to invest in us and buy into our vision of executing infrastructure works here in the Bahamas.
right.
But to Jones, also with the 3P, we can only get the funding if our funders have confidence in the government.
Right.
So to the fact that we're able to get the funding internationally and locally, yes, our economy has some challenges, but overall, I believe that our funders have the confidence in the government that they will be able to pay back in the time frame to pay back the funds in.
Right. And we've mentioned a lot so far about work that you've been able to do in the country. And while the name of, I believe, your flagship company is Bahamas Striping Group of Companies, you have done work internationally, and you're continuing to look at various different projects internationally. So if you could talk to, just, you know, for the sake of our viewers, in terms of how your business has grown from being a local startup to now being a company that is eyeing projects internationally, to the point almost where I suppose you could pick, choose, or refuse where in the world you want to go to do these projects.
Well, we always, as a company, we always had our eyes set on expanding outside in the Caribbean. But we wanted to build ourselves up at home first, which we have done. And we was kind of pleased and excited when we got a call from a road contractor in Turks and Caicos wanting to get our services to come down there and do some striping works on a project he was currently working on. So we went down and we executed the project. He was extremely pleased, And so our first international project was probably back in 2016, I think 15, 16, down in Turks and Caicos. And that same contractor actually contracted us again a few years later to execute a second project for him in the Turks and Caicos as well. So we have always had our eyes set on the Caribbean market. That's in reference to striping. But now we are a bit in a different realm of striping in reference to road construction. That is very much on the table for us as well, as we have some projects that we are eyeing in the Turks and Caicos as well as to other islands of the Caribbean as well. So we have never closed the door to working outside of the country, but like I said earlier, we wanted to solidify ourselves here first, especially in the paving industry, because we are fairly new to it. So we don't want to take on more than we can chew, but we have a lot of work here going on now, and we are performing that very well.
Right. In terms of, once again, where we find ourselves now, 14 years since 15 years since your inception as a company, now being given the designation as a business of the year, in terms of the gravity that means, that throughout the perhaps other contenders for that position, looking throughout the various different businesses in the Bahamas, the fact that there's something different being done at Bahamas Striping Group of companies that sets you apart from other businesses in the country, in terms of the fact that you gentlemen are now getting older, and with it perhaps even comes the responsibility of mentoring other entrepreneurs or other people within the country, in terms of what that means to you, in terms of being highlighted and being recognized as an admirable business in the country, is something that ought to be replicated because of your core values, because of, let me channel my Wendell Jones as to say, the manner of your bearing, so to speak, throughout this process. How does that make you feel?
Well, you know, we like the idea of everyone likes the idea of being appreciated, and there's no different here from us. We accept this award humbly, because we know that there are many companies who are well poised to receive such a award. But when we look at when we first started the company, we always wanted to try and be different, do things differently, and I think that we steadfast our commitment in to the Bahamian people and to the country itself. But overall, we understand that the work that we have done from inception to this day has not gone unnoticed, and we accept this award very humbly.
Man, go ahead.
Good. Mr. Jones, I say very simple, right? It's God blessings. Our company have a simple philosophy: open hands. And what open hands means to us is that we keep our hands open. A lot of things come out, things come in. And that's how we run a business. Some individuals tell us we give too much. For us as a company, the more successful we become, the more we will give. It's our community, it's our country. It don't make a difference where we are. We was not expecting this reward, but it's good to be appreciated in your own country. You know, it's a good feeling to be recognized for the work that we do, because we don't do what we do to be recognized. We do it because we see it as part of our obligation to our country, to make our country better. In the process, we make money, yes, but we also want to make our country better, not just for NASA, but wherever we work through our country.
Right. I think it has a lot to do with the industry that you're in. Going back into something you said earlier, in terms of what the clients or the partners are looking for, in terms of something you can see, touch, and feel. You know, you have people in the service industry, for example, who probably would not have the ability, no matter what the 3P is or how they are partnering with the government, to be able to produce something, to literally build something that people can go on and enjoy and go on to use, whether it be for transportation, whether it be what have you, through any sphere, that it's something that it stands as a element or as a testament over time to something that you were able to produce. Not everybody has that, I think, that ability or opportunity.
I believe that Bahamians have the same opportunity. Myself, I'm a product of Camper Road. Atario is from Abaco. We didn't come from no rich family. We didn't come from a politically inactive family. So we didn't have anything that no average Bahamian had. We had the same thing that average Bahamian have. We have. The difference is for us is that we work hard. We're not looking for handout, and we are consistent in what we do. We have a vision. We believe in God. We believe in making a difference in our community. But we have a vision, and that vision, once you have a vision, you get a sense of, I have a vision of this art piece. Okay, how do I make this art piece? You got to research. You got to talk to people. You have to network. You have to be prepared. The horse is going to slam in your face. The wall's going to come up. People can tell you no. And when people tell you no, you got to figure a way to get around them, get over and get under them. You just cannot take no for an answer. But I believe that every Bahamian have the same opportunities we have, because we are no different than regular Joe of the streets. We're not, look at our names, Mitchell, Sturrup. We're not, okay, we didn't came from a elite family. I grew up in Camper Road on Southern Street, 2 parents, 7 siblings, outside toilet. So there was nothing special about Dominic Sturrup when Dominic Sturrup was young. What was different with Dominic Sturrup is Dominic Sturrup had a vision and a belief, and Dominic Sturrup is not afraid of hard work. So I believe, people say there's no, I disagree in that. There's lots of opportunities. You mentioned earlier about mentoring. There's a young gentleman, Sweden. What's his company called again?
Highline Stripes.
Highline Stripes. He wanted to learn the business. He went and he bought his own striping machine. When President Mitchell go to work, he comes and works with President Mitchell. When he leaves here the day after the show, we're going to go stripe Ashley's furnitures. That young man is going to come and stripe Ashley's furnitures with him, because he wants to learn the business. He wants to learn how to lay out. He wants to learn how to put down the marks. He wants to learn how to run a business. So the difference is, what makes that young man different from any other young man? There's no difference. The difference is he reached out to us. I want to go into business. I don't know how to do it, but I want to learn. Teach me.
Right.
We're teaching it. When we get small jobs, we give it to him, we go and do it.
Right.
So there's no lack of opportunities in our country. I think there's a lot of opportunities for all Bahamians who want the opportunities. But a lot of us want to be hand-fed. That's the issue. I think we live in the best little country in the world.
Right.
If I die and come back tomorrow, I won't come back to be a Bahamian.
Right.
We live in the best little country in the world.
Right.
The opportunities in our country is unlimited.
What do you think has contributed to that, to the fact that perhaps the opportunities will be there, but there are people who are unable to see the opportunity, are unable to seize the opportunity, as you gentlemen, and we talked about, 14, 15 years ago, seizing that opportunity of the self-starter program to empower you to be able to do what you're doing today? Do you think in our country there are too many people who are waiting for somebody to come along and give them something rather than putting in the hard work to do that?
Yeah, people always say Bahamians like to copy. Everyone want to start like a clothing store or a chicken shack, or they look at to see what is successful, and then they try to mimic the same thing, or try and pull that person down so that now that they can do it. I agree with Dominic that the opportunities are here. One of the challenges I see with people don't take advantage of the opportunities. People don't understand, like, the government actually give out a lot of grants and I would say incentives for businesses to get started. But like I say, people don't read up on it to understand what the government does, but then they complain that the government isn't doing anything. We have a lot of foreigners that comes in and understand how the government works, and they take advantage of the government incentives. So I just think the Bahamian people need to understand what opportunities are there, and then, for one, pursue it, but then don't just pursue the current opportunity, but look at ways to enhancing it, like just like how we did. We started off in striping. Now we have just put Bahamas striping. Now we have a group of companies. So it's not. It's a bit more than just seeing an opportunity and accepting an opportunity, but don't limit yourself to just that one opportunity. Understand that the economy of scale is more than just what you're doing now. There's a lot of opportunities where you could, for one, expand, you could diversify, and it's all about business and generating revenue and thinking outside of the box.
Right. Well, gentlemen, we've come to the end of our program, and thank you for all of your thoughtful responses to our questions. Today, I could not be, I think, any more sure that the decision made by the board to give the Business of the Year award to your company was the right one, based off of what we've talked about, based off of the open hands model and your business's core values, in terms of your track record in our country, not only as a business enterprise, as a going concern, but as agents of change, as those who are prepared to stand in the gap and to not only build something in terms of building a corporate vehicle, but also to build our nation. From the bottom of my heart, let me say thank you for everything that you've been doing in our country for our common success. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to our program, Jones and Company. There you have our Business of the Year, Bahamas Striping Group of Companies and its principals. Thank you, and have a good evening.